Welcome to Beers with Bros. I'm Zach.
And I'm Bob.
Welcome to
Welcome.
this week. We got a couple different things to talk about this week. Bob, first things first. Every week, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking some, I want to call it Evenflow now, but it's Everflow.
Everflow. All right.
Everflow. It is
What is?
it's an Indian Pale Ale, 7%, Florida beer.
Gotcha. All right. I
Sen-
have two different ones. I'm drinking tonight. Um, I made it over to Worcester earlier this week, so had to stop by JFB over there, so I picked up
Oh shit!
two 4 packs.
Oh shit!
I remember that being foamy last time you had it. What's
Got
up,
a little,
Tyson?
I
Welcome.
got a little aggressive on my pour.
Yeah, you did. So I picked up two different 4 packs. I think it's fitting. I'm going my J-Fob glass for my J-Fob beer. So I'm gonna start off with that's a really bad like freaking light. Yeah, Summer Forever is their it's New England IPA. So this is coming in at 6.7%. So this is kind of my go-to beer. Not too high ABV, super juicy, fruit forward. Pours a nice hazy color. You get to see the pour before. I don't know that I've had this on the show before, but we're gonna give her a pour. So there it is. As I stick my nose right in it. We're both having fuck ups tonight, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, mine's West Coast all the way. It's
Okay.
got some bite on it.
I literally just inhaled that right up my nose.
You know, you'll have that
Oh
sometime.
well, it
You'll
happens.
have it all goes the same place.
That's true.
It might inject a little to your head a little faster that way.
I also haven't eaten today yet either. So,
Mm,
um,
nice,
oh well, it
nice.
happens.
That's
Um,
a bad idea, dude.
oh well, it is what it is. All right, Bob. I'll let you take the lead on this part because you looked up most of this stuff, but we're just gonna get into
Yeah,
some events going on, things coming up about beer,
yeah, yeah.
things for you to do this weekend, stuff like
Well,
that.
some of
So,
these are beer specific. Several of them are just we're getting into that springtime, and then we're going to go into summertime. That it's festival season. Um, every week there's going to be something going on somewhere around where you live. I believe most of our people are in Ohio, like in Ohio. So
yeah.
I looked at the Ohio stuff. So if you're viewing us from outside of Ohio, I apologize. Uh, let me know what state you're in, and next time I'll look up stuff in your state as well. So anyhow,
Right now, we just got Tyson. Tyson's like not far from me, so
okay, well, again, everywhere in Ohio, there seems like there's something going on. So we got
yeah.
Holy Toledo Polka Days in Perrysburg. So if you're digging on the polka, you want to do a little polka dancing, go to Perrysburg, get your polka on. We got Mayberry Springs Market in Wapakoneta. If you want to go do, they got beer vendors and drink vendors there, and do some antiquing, drinking and some teaking, drinking some
All
teaking.
right.
All right. We got Fayette County Revolutionary War Festival in Washington Courthouse. So I hope they have some beverages there because I think that watching Revolutionary War reactors got to be much better if you have a couple beers in you, without a doubt, or
For sure.
maybe a gummy. Earth Gathering Festival in Chillicothe. I did not look up what that was, but it feels like some sort of crunchy granola type thing.
Not a clue.
I'm not going to talk about that one because that's for sober people. Um, Eastern European Heritage Experience Inglewood. If you're in the Dayton area, you go check out the Eastern European Heritage. Taste of Granville. Granville has some good breweries around there, so I would imagine you get some Taste of Granville. You're going to have some of them included.
Yep.
Dark County has a wine festival in Greenville. My understanding, and I read some about this, that there's going to be some beer vendors there as well. So you can take the wife, have her hit up the wines, and you can have some beer for yourself. We got Yaga Fest in Olmsted Falls, German event. So now, without a doubt, there's going to be beer there. Oxford Bee Festival. There is going to definitely be some meads and some honey forward beers there at the Bee Festival in Oxford. Portsmouth. Oh no, that one's discontinued. And the big one for specifically for beer is Van Wart on Tap. It is a specific beer festival. So if you're heading to Western Ohio, Van Wart Beer Festival this weekend. Get it up.
Oh yeah, so I just looked up this Taste of Granville. Literally, like the thing for it says food, beer, wine, and music. So
Oh yeah, Granville's a cool little town.
yeah, yeah, they definitely have. I mean, um, like Newark's not too far from there, and Dank House is in Newark, so they have good beer, as Tyson knows. We talk about beer there all the time. Um, and then there's what is it, Three Tigers or something like that is in Granville that makes some pretty good stuff. They have really good food too, by the way. So, but yeah, this event, Taste of Granville, I think it was like $55. But it runs from like 5 to 8. It includes the food and the beer, wine, stuff like that. So, sounds like a pretty cool event if you make it down there.
So looking up the Van Wart, you get unlimited tastings, which is
Okay.
dangerous.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I do not see ticket prices on here. It is on Saturday, runs from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah, if you get the VIP tickets, you get in early. Doesn't say what time, but it does say early entry. So it is mainly breweries in that area that are going to be there. It looks like there's probably going to be about 20 or so, and some food trucks. So,
gotcha. All right,
so
cool.
I
Oh, we got another person. I don't know who else is here. Hello, whoever else is here.
yeah,
Welcome.
I have not done a whole lot of Western Ohio breweries.
Yeah,
So I don't know too much about them. I know Moeller Barn's going to be there. They're not too exciting.
Moeller Brew Barn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Cool.
outside of that, man, that's the happenings this weekend.
That's our happening and
That's the
I'm
happening.
just gonna plug this one real quick. Coming up here, what I think June 20th, we got the Ashland Ale Fest coming up. So if you're interested in trying out some different beers, I think they've sent out invitations to over 100 breweries so far. I don't know what the actual brewery list is yet. They haven't announced that, but that'll be going on in June. So if you want to volunteer for it, they always have volunteer spots available. That's what I tend to do every year. You get in free and you get to drink basically what you want. You just have to volunteer for a couple hours, and then you just kind of walk around and get as many samples as you want after you do that. So that's the way to do it if you're going to go to it. For whoever just joined, throw it in the chat. Let us know who you are, what you're doing, where you're from. Um, but we're going to get into the main topic of the day. But before we do that, I want to do one thing. Um, so my friend Clay, um, I'm doing a plug for his daughter real quick. So, his daughter is doing something for like athlete of the week in softball. I'm gonna throw this in the chat. Go on and vote for her. I'm just follow this link thing right here. I'm putting in here. I think this is the right link. Yeah. So I'm putting this in the chat. She is seventh from the bottom. Her name is Casey. So just look for Casey and vote for her. Um, so we're trying to get her to win this athlete of the week thing. You can vote
Casey
as
at
many times as you want.
Casey at the bat.
Casey Pollard. Vote for her. So place your vote. Vote as many times as you can. Want her to win. Clay is giving me some beers for the podcast, so that's why one of the reasons I'm doing this.
Little.
What's that?
You get a little paid off here. A little.
I'm not getting paid
He's
off. I mean, I guess
he's
just
greasing
sell
the
it out.
wheels a bit. He's greasing the wheels a little bit, trying to get his daughter.
He's well. I mean, he's given me beers in the past. It's not like he gave me beers for
No,
this
I'm just messing with you, man.
one. So yeah, follow that link. Yeah, just vote for her if you want to. If you don't, I get it. It's fine. It's cool. But anyway, what our main topic of the week this week, after we talked about events and everything and our beers that we're drinking, um, we're talking about the magic of beer. What makes beer into alcohol? We're talking about fermentation, the fantastic fungus, yeast, and all about fermentation.
So
If you've
you got some fun guys, just
the fungi,
the fun guys
um,
hanging out in some sugary water and just freaking eating the hell out of some sugar and pissing out some alcohol
yeah, yep,
and burping out some CO2.
yep. So if you've watched this before, you know we've talked about a place that we've been to called White Labs. They're one of the largest yeast producers in the U.S. for beer. Um, if you get the chance to ever visit White Labs, one of their you know brewery, tap room, restaurant situations, recommend going because they basically have the same beer but with different yeast strains. It makes a big difference in the beer. So I would recommend doing that just to check it out. It's super cool. But we're gonna get into some of the more kind of specific things about fermentation this week. We've talked about hops, so we kind of wanted to hit on this and just kind of do a little more of a deep dive into it. If you have any comments or any experiences you've had with different yeast strains and beers that you've had that have had weird yeast in them or anything like that, let us know in the comments as we go through this. But um, we're gonna start kind of simple and then get a little more complex as we go
Yeah, I
along
mean,
in this.
sometimes you might not even realize it that what sometimes with making your beer taste good or with making your beer taste bad is the yeast and how they actually went about pitching it.
Yep.
That's the term, right? Pitching your yeast.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of differences in it. Is like when you're adding your yeast, um, the strain of yeast you're using. So,
Yeah,
if you're using,
there's a lot of things that can go wrong with the yeasting.
yeah. So just the really kind of simplest thing with it is the type of yeast you're using. So, I mean, if you're using um ale, lager, or another type of yeast,
Yeah, I mean, for
those
the
are
most part, most beers are you got your top yeast slash ales, and you
yep,
got your bottom yeast slash lager. So you're either a
exactly.
top or bottom.
Yep. Yep, that's for the most part, and then you
Yeah,
get into, your other types of yeast.
just let it go
So
right
you
into
you
your head,
you
didn't you?
get into, like the other types of yeast are like your sours, right? So you're getting into Brettanomyces, which is mostly to make Brett beers,
Yeah, and that's
sours.
typically considered you screwed up your beer, but
Yep. So you normally pitch your Brett in secondary fermentation. So that's a whole different thing we'll get into later. And then you get into Saccharomyces. Um, again, that's another one that's typically good for saisons, so a little bit more on the sour side. And then you get into bacteria positive yeast strains as well. So when you're adding bacteria, you get into more sour stuff as well in that situation. So those are blends with yeast and bacteria typically. So that's again another sour thing. So that's just to kind of sour the beer before it's into the final fermentation, so to speak. So the characteristics of each of the individual yeast strains, which there's I think like 12 or 1400 different strains of yeast that we're aware of that are out there.
And they keep on
So
coming up with new ones. Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, yep. And they make them like every single one is going to have a different profile for the beer that you're gonna make. But there's 5 kind of major qualities that you're going to get out of each one of these. And it's gonna depend on the elements too of the beer that you're trying to make, that you're gonna finish with. So the attenuation is a big thing, and that has to do with the sugars. Um, so that's really the percentage of sugar that you're going to have. Why am I so blurry? That's the percentage of sugar that you're gonna have in your wort or wort, depending on how you wanna say it. So that is going to the sugar is gonna be ending up converting to your alcohol. Um, a lot of places we went to when we were in, Asheville, they had signs up that said, "Drink yeast poop," right? So alcohol essentially is that, right? Um,
I mean, it's an excrement. So, I mean, you could, I mean, it
yeah,
comes out liquid. So I always thought of urine.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
same sense. So, um,
Yeah, thought process. But yeah,
yeah, so you're drinking,
yeah.
excrement of
I mean,
the
these dudes are having the time of their freaking life, man. They're in this little freaking vial. They're all just there, and it's just all other yeast, and they're like, oh man, this is freaking boring as hell. And then you just release them into this freaking thing of sugar, and they're like, woo, sugar, and then they're just eating it so much until they just freaking shit themselves.
essentially just think of it this is the human analogy to this is that if you just put a bunch of frat bros
Yeah.
into a house that has unlimited bush light.
Oh man, give them something better than Bush Light. But yeah.
No, bush light.
They're gonna piss a lot and they're
Uh-huh.
gonna belch a lot,
Uh-huh.
and that's what the yeasties do. It.
Yep. Exactly. So that's your analogy.
That's
Um
right on, dude. But I mean,
so
yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to think about it. It's like a sausage party. It's all yeast in a little vial. It's all
yeah.
sausage party, and then you put them in all this sugar, and they're like, sweet.
Yep.
We
We're just
gotta.
having a party.
It's party time.
Yep. So you have your attenuation, which is just how much sugar they're going to convert to alcohol, essentially, and that's high, medium, low. Um, Kind of goes back to how much alcohol percentage you want.
Now, yeah,
Uh,
that's the thing about it is some of these things like they die off because of
yep,
they make too much alcohol to where they can't survive in the alcohol.
yep, and that goes back to the next kind of trait in your yeast is your alcohol tolerance. So, how much alcohol tolerance does your yeast have? Is it low, medium, high? Just depends. So obviously beers, we've had beers that have been over 20% alcohol. Most of your beers are kind of in the 4% to 10% range,
Yeah,
10% being on the higher end.
they're not using typical yeast. They're not using typical beer yeast on those 20 percenters.
No, 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 no,
I mean,
not at all.
even if you look at 120 um, from
Dogfish.
Dogfish Head, they start off with like a regular ale yeast,
Yep,
and then it all dies off, and they re-yeast it
yep.
or repitch it, and put in a yeast that is a lot more tolerance. That is not. I think they use a champagne yeast on
I
the
think they
second
do at
round.
one point. They're doing multiple fermentations in that. They're not just doing a primary and secondary fermentation. Um, so yeah, I mean, it really depends
Yeah.
on what you're making, where you want your alcohol content to be. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you want your final alcohol level to be. Is you're gonna select the yeast based on
Yeah.
that.
And if you're most
So
home brewers, you're gonna put a normal yeast in, and it can get up to, I think typically most of them get up to like 7 or even 8% before they kill themselves off. But
yep. Yeah, and again, you're gonna have ranges on the yeast. Is your low yeast is gonna be 5% or lower, medium low 4 to 8, m- medium 5 to 10. They're all gonna be a range. So that just depends on the strain of yeast. Next thing is gonna be your flocculation of the yeast. So
sounds
flocculation is
sounds like a band from the 80s.
flocculation.
Yeah.
So that what flocculation refers to is the tendency of the yeast to form clumps, which are called flocks. Um, so those clumps drop when the fermentation finishes. So you kind of want something that has decent flocculation in a beer, especially if you're top fermenting beer. So once you have your fermentation completed, that flock drops to the bottom and it's easy to separate from your beer that now has alcohol in it. So that allows the beer to clear up a lot quicker than a yeast that doesn't have a higher flocculation. And again, this is separated at high, medium, and low. And then other things are your temperature ranges for your yeast. So what temperature you can pitch this yeast? Is it a higher temperature tolerance? Or is it a lower temperature tolerance? So that's going to be another differentiator between your ale and your lager yeast. Lagers cannot handle. What's up, Rob?
Yo,
We're getting
yeasty.
we're getting yeasty with it. Um, which I believe Yeasty Boys actually is a brewery that's out
It
there.
is actually a brewery,
Yeah.
but they're kind of lame because they don't actually use like any like cool like Beastie Boy references in any of their beer naming.
Oh, okay. We got 5 people on here now. Hey, everybody, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. We're talking about fermentation and yeast today. So,
Yeah,
uh, we're just dropping.
Zach's getting his beer nerd on.
Yeah, I'm getting nerdy with it. I'm getting yeasty with it. But I'm putting another beer, so I'm gonna talk about the beer real quick. So, this is a New England Pale Ale. I don't know why this gets blurry when I do this, but this is called Burner. This is another one from JFB, and I'm in my JFB glass this week just because I'm drinking JFB beer. So, yeah, this is their New England Pale Ale. They've done. This is actually really, really fresh. I think they just canned this either earlier this week or last week. This is another very hazy. I guess I should put this up here for it. So this is quite hazy for a pale ale. Um, really juice forward, fruit forward. They've done a double and a triple version of this as well. The triple I think came in about 10%. It's one of my favorite beers they've ever done at JFB. So I really hope they bring that one back because it was freaking delicious, but it was dangerous as well because it did not taste like 10%. Um anyway, back to temperature. So ale yeast, lager yeast, temperature is super important. Lager yeast is going to ferment better at lower temperatures than your ale yeast. But if you put a ale yeast at a lower temperature, it's just going to ferment way slower. It's still going to have fermentation. It's just going to take a lot longer for that fermentation to take place. So,
Yeah,
uh,
so also with those, if you're looking at an ale yeast, you're typically going to have more of it's gonna well, number one, it's going to be a lot faster, has a lot more fruity taste to it. Also, sometimes you'll get some spicy tastes out, like on the Belgians and whatnot. You'll get some spicy taste out of some of your yeast as well. But typically on those, that you're going to have a lot more variety and more complex flavor profiles on the yeast on the ale side versus the lager yeast, which is cold, and it's just going to be more like your straight up, just clean, dry beers that you like when you drink any kind of lager or a Hell's or a Pilsner. You know, very very clean, very typically pretty dry, not real sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got your party boys over here with the ale yeast, and you got more of your precision engineers over here with your lager yeast.
We're all about analogies today. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, the
Trying
other thing too
trying to
is
make yeast and fermentation exciting, man.
the other thing too is that when you're talking about yeast fermentation and temperatures, a big thing with that is if you're trying to ferment and your temperature is too hot, you're gonna produce really bad flavors. So you're just gonna present sour flavors in your beer, or your beer's just not gonna taste like it's supposed to in the end, and you're probably not gonna want to drink that. So like if you're putting a lager yeast, if you're adding that yeast when you're way too hot in temperature, you're gonna get some really, really bad flavors, and your beer's just not gonna turn out well at all. And that same thing goes with an ale yeast. If you're adding that too soon, after you've boiled, you're not gonna get good flavors out of it. So, yeah, that's what I want to talk about there. And then, excuse me, your flavor profile as well.
Yeah.
So different. That burp just kind of snuck out of nowhere. It happens. Um,
You're
so
making some CO2.
I did. Um, so the yeast itself is going to produce some flavor, as we've talked about. Um, we talk about White Labs a lot because that's a place we've been that actually produces yeast, but also they brew beer there. Um, so they're more about the final flavor of the beer that you're getting during the fermentation process. So your hops are adding a lot of flavor, but they're adding a lot of other chemical elements to your beer as well. So they're adding thiols, they're adding acids. Where your yeast is you're adding elements to your beer through the alcohol production, through the CO2 production, but they're accentuating either the maltiness or the hoppiness profile that's already going to be there from those other elements. It just depends on that yeast that you use. So that's really important when deciding on the yeast that you're going to use to make your beer. So yeah, that's one of the things there, and there's a whole freaking like hop database out here with all of the different or it's not hop but yeast database with all of the different yeast manufacturers. There's some crazy names for yeast out here. So like Funk Weapon is the name of a yeast. Um, so there's
For Belgians.
Funk Weapon number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
There's three different Funk Weapons.
I'd imagine you're making a Belgian out of that. Yeah.
I mean, it could be a sour.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a saison.
Yeah. They got the funk.
They do.
They need.
Um, then you get into
Mhm.
I always have problem pronouncing this word, Quebec yeast. You know that one? Kviek.
Oh, it's like a German beer. Comes out.
It's Czech, I believe.
Or Czech, yeah. The Czech pills are that, yeah.
Actually, it's Norwegian. That's actually the Norwegian word for yeast. So, Marcus, if you're watching, tell us how to pronounce that word. Actually, I'll message him right now. If he's still online. Let me message him. I'm actively messaging him right now. If he's not on here, I don't see that he's said anything, but um yeah. So it's a Norwegian word. So it's a farmhouse yeast basically. So Very
Oh, there
fast
you go.
fermentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 to 3. Oh, it's a super high temperature though, typically higher than a normal ale yeast. Okay. So yeah, we're learning stuff too as we go along with this, so that's cool. But yeah, traditional yeast is going to be a little bit lower temperature. Um, like you're going to be in the. Oh, I'm not here. He just messaged. Yeah, how do you say that word? Like, enunciate it.
Is
Like
he going to be able to type that? He's going to
I
type
sent
it
it to him in a
phonetically.
different chat. Like,
Oh,
tell us the phonetics of it.
that's how you spell it.
I know, but like, I want, I want
That's
him
just how
to
you
tell us.
spell it. That's not phonetic.
I know, but I want him to spell it out in phonetics. Like,
I know, but I'm just saying that's he didn't. Oh, no, you put it. Okay, I got it. Never mind.
yeah, I type.
Gevik.
That's what I should do. I should just learn Norwegian. I'm trying to learn Mandarin right now, but
Oh, dude, just forget that shit. I'm
how
just,
do I type it?
I'm just telling it.
Um, I don't know. Just like type how you would sound it out in English.
Is he thinking about?
I don't
So, so anyhow, there's all sorts of things that can go wrong.
know.
I mean, you want to talk about that at all? Like any of the yeast stuff that can go wrong.
Yeah,
So
we can talk about that.
you got your stuck fermentation where basically we kind of talked about it. Basically, your yeast kind of just wear out and die off before they make the alcohol that you're looking for.
A's are like the C in the closet.
Closet.
I don't know what that means.
So no, in closet. So it'd be
Oh, clause. Okay. E
E
I
as
as
I and L. So it's Clake, Clake, Clake. Oh wait, no. Is that no? Yeah,
What about the V? The V is in velvet. Okay.
Clive, Ka, Kavike, Kavike. I don't know, dude. Kavike.
Vec? Kvek. I don't know. You can tell me if I'm saying it right. Kvek.
No, he said there's an I. The he said it's I sound. The EI is an I sound.
EI is in
So
Vike.
Kavike.
Vike. Okay.
All right.
Oh, so there you go. All right. Kvike.
Here you go, man. Look at us. Look at us learning how to pronounce shit.
We're learning Norwegian live.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, we're talking about issues with fermentation now.
Yeah.
Talk
So I
about
mean, we talked about already talked kind of about the stock formation, which I mean, so basically you get a beer that's just not the ABV that you were looking for if they just die off too soon. And sometimes you can just get yeast that you're expecting to be able to take more tolerance than they did, and they just didn't. You can get what is it called? Over attenuation or attenuation,
attenuation.
where they just freaking go crazy and they're freaking eating everything.
Mm.
And then, I mean, that's where you can get some weird profiles and weird aftertaste because, or
Yeah.
you might get a beer that's just way more alcohol than you expected. There is, so I mean, some of these things they do on purpose. So there's the isomyl acetate something. Hit me up, freaking chemical dude. Where it tastes like bananas.
Yeah. That's the banana one. So yeah, that's just it's fruity esters essentially. So
Yeah, And then
that that's
there's like
uh,
yeah, you can get like a clove taste that you're not expecting as well, which is a 4 VG.
okay. So I'm gonna back up real quick. So an ester is a form of alcohol,
Yeah.
but it's incomplete fermentation. Essentially, is what that
Yeah.
is. So, like banana flavoring. So if you ever had like runts, like the banana runts,
Yeah.
that's an ester. That's
Those
a
are the
fake
ones that
banana
everyone
flavor.
throws away.
Yes, I can't stand fake banana flavor. So that's an ester, and fake banana flavoring is from incomplete fermentation. So there's actually no ethanol, so no ethyl alcohol in it. So, but it's still an ester of alcohol,
Yeah. So
and that's that off banana flavor. But what some brewers will do if they want a banana flavored beer, they'll do an incomplete fermentation after the primary fermentation to get that banana flavoring in the beer, but it's a fake banana flavor.
yeah. So then there's also I don't even know how to say this at all. It's a diacetyl,
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 cetyl.
which I mean that's you messed up your beer, dude. And it's gonna taste something like butter popcorn. It's gonna be buttery
Yeah,
tasting. And then even phenols. You're starting to get phenols. You've screwed up even worse because now it's just gonna taste like a freaking plastic or a band-aid
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
So all of those, as I said, they can come up with, and those are all those just different types of alcohols that they can produce, and
uh, yeah,
all of it is a lot of this is controlled by the temperature or where you're putting it in on the temperature, um, and again, it's I mean, sometimes it's a matter of minutes, sometimes even a matter of seconds, depending on how big this is and how quickly your stuff's cooling.
yeah,
So so as a home brewer, yeah, it's easy to screw this up because it's not as
yeah,
big a batch and the cooling's different, and you're just not and you typically don't have different gauges telling you where the temperatures are and where things should go in. So
yeah,
you're kind of eyeballing it or going off of feel. And I mean, sometimes it can end up being something like, oh, hey, that's a different taste. I wasn't expecting that. I really like it. Other times it can be like, this is freaking disgusting. It tastes like I'm drinking someone's Band-Aid.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's what happened. The first beer that I made, I rushed the fermentation with it, and that's where I just got it. It was way too bready. Like it didn't complete fermentation before I went to the cold crash, and that's where it just was way too of a bready flavor. It didn't complete fermentation, so it was just too much malt left over, too much sugar left over, essentially. And yeah, I don't know. And that's one of the things that can happen. And it wasn't a sanitation issue. When you get sanitation issues, you get a lot of very like off sour flavors.
yeah.
Not a good sour flavor like you get in a sour beer. It's a I don't even know how to explain this. Like think of like vinegar mixed with acid.
I mean, even just getting a vinegar taste, like
Oh goodness.
you screwed things up.
Yeah, unless you're going for a sour, and then you're gonna have a little bit of vinegary taste in any sour you do almost, unless you've just over fruited that sour.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, so that's one thing. But something that's so important in brewing is sanitation. And if you don't have your stuff sanitized, anytime you have anytime you're introducing outside bacteria, that's not good when brewing. Um, just because that's that's introduction of mold, that's introduction of other stuff that's gonna make your beer go bad.
So
So,
so I had an early venture in brewing. I had a Mr. Beer, and this is a little story time here.
all right, let's
And
do it.
I was so excited about getting this damn thing, and I thought, man, I'm just gonna brew beer all the damn time. And I washed my bottles out, and I don't know that I didn't set them to where they dried correctly, or something happened to where now the beer actually ended up tasting very good. It was a wheat beer, but it had kind of like a raspberry taste to it. Now it wasn't a raspberry wheat, dude. It was just a normal wheat, but it ended up having like a raspberry taste to it, which was something that was introduced into the beer that shouldn't have been there. Um, I had like a party, I had a bunch of people over, and we all were drinking it, and everybody crap their freaking brains out, dude. Everybody crap their brains out. I crap and puke, dude. It was one of those deals where you're sitting on the toilet with the freaking trash can because you know it's gonna come out both ends. It was the freaking worst, dude. So absolutely 100% sanitation is key unless you want to crap your brains out and vomit at the same time.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely agree with
Little story time.
that.
And and if I would have done it better, I probably would have continued home brewing, and maybe by now I would have already owned my own brewery, but I didn't. That was the last time I made any beer. I haven't made beer since then because I freaking have PTSD on making beer, dude.
That's not true. You have made a beer since then.
I mean, I've helped other people, but I haven't made
Yeah,
it on my own.
that's true. That's true. So yes, sanitizing stuff is incredibly important. Um, if you're gonna touch anything that's already sanitized, making sure you're sanitized before you touch it is also important.
We'll
Um,
wear gloves.
yeah, it's not only wearing gloves, like making sure those gloves are
Yeah, yeah.
sanitized
Well,
before,
no,
like if you,
I mean, it would have to be just like when you're at a food place and they're constantly changing their gloves out.
yeah,
It's the same sort of deal. You touch anything with those gloves, you take them off, you put a new pair on. So you have to
yeah.
go with either the rubber or the plastic disposable one. So
Not
it's
rubber.
probably, it's probably your best bet is the disposable plastic ones that they use like at Subway or something.
Nah, literally, there you can buy sterile gloves,
Yeah,
individually wrapped sterile gloves, one time use. That's the way to go
yeah.
if you're
And
really gonna get
if
into it.
you touch anything other than what you're working with, or yeah, then you throw them
Yeah.
away. You put another pair on.
All right, we're gonna move on from story time.
Yes.
Um, so the other thing, another negative thing that can happen is this is bad for any beer at any point in the process is oxidation. Um, I know Tyson that's on here. He's had some beers that have been oxidized just sitting in the can, or at some point in the process they've become oxidized. Um, this is just the beer being exposed to oxygen for too long after fermentation. It just makes the beer bad. It makes the flavors off from what they're supposed to be. Um, it kind of makes it taste like wet cardboard, right? So
Yeah.
like just if you had a pizza after it sat in the box for way too long and ate that pizza, that's kind of what you could say the beer tastes like. It's um just cardboard. So Little Caesars pizza basically. um Yeah, it's not a good thing. Oxygen in a sterile environment is not good, essentially. So that's kind of what you want to have with beer is sterile, not like surgical sterile, but sanitized. Um, and then so the other one we you talked about stalled fermentation already, but another part of that is if you're getting to a level of alcohol content that your yeast can't sustain. Um, perfect example of this is we talked about earlier. um Dogfish Head's 120-minute IPA. They This was years ago. They had to dump an entire batch of this beer because all of the yeast died. during the one of the fermentation processes. I don't know which process it was, but the yeast just didn't hold up to the alcohol content it was at. All of it died, and this is hundreds of thousands of dollars they just had to dump down the drain because the beer went bad, the yeast died, started getting off flavors from the yeast dying and just sitting in the beer for too long, and they didn't catch it. So that's one of the things about keeping an eye on your beer, making sure you're testing it as it goes through the brewing process as well. Um, and that has to do with the health of your yeast as well, is just making sure you're watching your beer as it goes through fermentation. If you're especially if you're lagering a beer, lagering takes a lot longer because it's a lower temperature than like an ale yeast, which only takes about a week. Lagering can take 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the alcohol content you're trying to reach. So, got anything else on any of that, Bob?
No, no. I mean, I think we hit it.
All right.
I think we just kind of beat that right to death.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so you talked about the kvike. I think I said that right. Kvike, kvike, something like that. Anyhow,
Right.
so that's just like a naturally occurring yeast, isn't it? Isn't that like the one? Isn't that like the ones that they like where like in Belgium they just keep their windows open or they keep the vat open and like yeast just kind of goes into it.
Well, that's a lambic. That's
Yeah,
the
but
lambic
that's
one.
what they're using that particular type of yeast for is for like lambics and Belgians and
I was actually going to talk about. That's funny you brought this up because we didn't plan this at all. Because we were going to. I wanted to talk about lambic beers and open air fermentation. That's what I
oh,
wanted to
well,
lead
hit it, dude.
into. um, so it's funny. Tyson and I were just talking about this the other night. Is open air fermentation and lambic beers. Um, so I'm sure some of you on here. I don't know. Everybody, not everybody that's on here has put a comment in here. Um, so everybody that's on here, look back in the comments. I posted a comment earlier. Uh, I'm plugging this yet again. My friend Clay's daughter is in a competition. Because we had more people join.
Hey,
Uh,
by the way, open air brewing. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that
Sorry.
reminds me that Clay's daughter.
Shut up. So I'm putting this on here. Follow this link I put in the comments, right? Go there, vote for Clay's daughter. Her name is Casey Pollard. She's seventh from the bottom on this list. Vote for her. Okay. Sorry. Just had to plug that again. Go vote for her. You can vote as many times as you want. Tap on the link, vote for her. Cool. Anyway, open air fermentation. Tyson and I were talking about this the other day because he's never had a lambic beer before. Um, thing about open air fermentation is typically really low alcohol content, right? They're like 2.5, 3%, maybe up to 4% alcohol. But it's a cool process because they're using essentially wild yeast to ferment their beer, and they use open tanks for this fermentation. And one of the cool things about this is it increases oxygen availability to the yeast because the yeast need oxygen to produce their cell membranes, and it allows them to top crop the yeast after the fermentation to remove the yeast from the beer. So they can basically skim the surface of the beer and get the yeast out of it. It also enhances the ester and phenol production in the beer when it's finished. So it just gives you a fruitier, kind of spicy, almost beer, not spicy in a way of like uh chili pepper spice, but like peppery almost flavor. And it adds a really complex flavor to the beer that you don't get with like an ale or a lager. Um, so some saisons use this process as well, which is really cool. That's where you get a lot of like the floral notes and the fruit flavors that you get in saisons. Um, but the oxygen exposure also gives you a really fast fermentation process as well because the yeast have that endless supply of oxygen. And one of the things you don't have to worry about with this process also is contamination because you get essentially this heavy release and quick release of CO2 through this process, and it creates this protection barrier of CO2 over this open fermentation chamber. So none of the bacteria can penetrate that CO2 to get into the beer. So open air fermentation is just such a cool process, and like I've dove into this, and you can add all kinds of different fruits to your beer during open air fermentation just to add additional sugars, but also get that fruit flavor into your beer. And lambic beers are one of the biggest styles that use this, especially in Belgium. I don't know. I just think it's really cool. That's
So actually, I think the cool thing about that, and I'm gonna hit you up with a fun fact from Bob, not from
fun
Zach.
facts, Bob.
So humans have been brewing for about 9,000
At
years.
least
Yeast wasn't discovered until the 18,000s.
18,000 or 1800s.
So 1800s. 1800s. Yeah, so humans didn't even discover uh, yeast until about what 250 years ago or something
Yeah,
like that.
I mean
220 years ago.
we couldn't detect it microscopically like on that level. Like it was there the whole time,
Yeah,
but we didn't know it.
yeah, no, they just did what no, but it just
Yeah,
wasn't. I didn't say they invented
yeah,
it. I said they didn't discover it until the
yeah, yeah.
1800s. So for thousands and thousands of years, they were brewing with open air brewing, but had no freaking clue what the hell was happening. Just the fact that hey, if we put the sugar water out in open air, we'll get drunk off this stuff.
Yep, yep, exactly.
So
I just like if you leave
So
fruit
yeah,
out.
I think that's yeah, I think that's super interesting. That what I mean, that's exactly how it
Yeah,
originally started. Was they left fruit and water, fruit out that became alcohol. But then beer is actually, I mean, beer is actually the baby of the alcohols because it's hasn't been around. If you look at wine, well, I mean, maybe not the baby of the alcohol, but it's considered like a lot younger than wine. Wine's been around for a long time, and beer maybe
yeah,
about half that
yeah.
time. But again, you have other things like gins and whatnot like that are in of course bourbons and those things that are even younger.
Malort.
But so anyhow, yes. So that was my fun fact is that yeast was just discovered as an actual substance in the
Yeah.
1800s. Oh, and by the way, Casey Pollard is in second right now with 22.6%. She's behind the Lucas's Colin Winthrow with
Ooh, she
25.15%.
she went up in percentage. She was at like 21 the last time that I looked. So let's get her up in first place,
She's
everybody.
she got Yeah, she's got another 3% to go.
Yeah, let's.
So, it tells you the votes even. So this dude that's above her has 4,203 votes, and she has 3,781 votes.
All right, we can do it. I have faith in us. Just keep voting. Voter fraud. Just keep voting.
I don't know if it'll let me vote
Yeah, you
again.
just got to click out of it and then go back in. Just like,
Because it made me register to vote.
oh, I didn't have to register.
Oh, it made me register.
Oh yeah, I didn't register anytime I did it. I've voted like 6 times already.
Hmm.
um. Anyway, we're getting we've gotten off topic like 47 different times this week, but
That's all
um
right, man. That's what we did.
yeah, that's yeah. the ADD. Anyway, if you've never tried a lambic beer, I would definitely recommend trying a lambic beer. They're typically really low in alcohol content. They use, open air fermentation typically, especially if you get a Belgian one. That's what I would recommend. Um, Anytime I come across somebody that says I don't like beer, I recommend to try Lindemann's Framboise. It's a raspberry flavored lambic beer. They use open air fermentation. It's from Belgium. It's a little on the higher price side. Like if you go back a couple episodes and you see our drinking on a budget episode, this would not fall in that drinking on a budget episode. But it's worth it in my opinion, especially if you can find one of their mix packs. So they do a peach, they do an apple, they have the raspberry, they have a strawberry. Once you start getting into like the gouzets, those ones, they have some really really funky flavor profiles to them. I never thought a beer could taste like cheese until I had a gouzet. Um, but some gouzets are literally taste like cheese. Like if you've ever been to like a cheese and wine pairing, um, just drink some different gouzets, and that's your cheese and wine all in one. Uh, I'm not even joking. Uh,
I don't know that you're selling me on this,
what's that?
man. I don't know that you're selling me on that particular beer.
It's an experience. Like
I don't know that I'm going to be digging on a cheese beer.
I you got to try one just to say you've tried it. They're very odd, and there's a lot of different gouzets. Some of them don't taste like that, but some of them do have like that kind of funky cheese flavor to them, especially when you get to like fermented cheeses. Um, yeah, they're weird. They're weird beers. I'd say to try it just to try it. Why not?
All right.
Um, Yeah, so that's what like I'm reading right now. So Guze, a blend of 1, 2, and 3-year-old lambics, creating a highly carbonated champagne-like beer with complex tartness. So, meh, yeah. So framboise, raspberry, creek is cherry, um, Pame is apple. I can't remember what the strawberry one is called, but yeah, try and get your hands on a lambic beer. Um, they're really good. They're low alcohol content, but this is like the wine of beers, basically. So if you come across anybody that says they don't like beer, hit them with a lambic. Be like, here, try this. Um, I wouldn't say you're gonna get drunk off of drinking lambics, but just to try something new, try out a lambic just because it's an experience, and you can say you've had an open air fermented beer at that point as well. So, um, and there's a lot of different breweries that do them out there. A lot of them are in Belgium. There's a lot of like flower fields in the area where they typically have their breweries. So the pollination, they bring in a lot of those floral notes from the pollinations happening in these fields. I actually looked up Lindemann's at one point, and they're literally located. They have a wheat field on one side, and there's some sort of flower field on another side. So they're just bringing in all this open air yeast from those fields,
Yeah.
and it's a super cool process. So that was kind of
They're kind of getting the wheat in there with
yep,
even doing anything. They're just getting wheat,
yep,
a wheat type beer.
yep, yeah. It's just really cool. But yeah, that's all I wanted to touch on and talk about. So I don't have anything else, and we're pushing on time. So
Yeah, man, we're at our right at our hour
yeah,
about. So I mean, this is kind of where we typically like to wrap up. And so I for me, I think the big thing is I mean, to sum up, is that a lot of times people like when you think about beer, you think about the hops and the barley and the water and yeast is kind of like the forgotten ingredient, but it
Agree.
is really, I mean, it's the big difference of a lot of the taste is the yeast. And as I said, so like the next time you're drinking a beer, man, give a toast to the yeasty boys, man.
For sure. Give a toast to that yeast because it's made the alcohol.
Yeah,
All right.
they're the hardest working, least paid organisms in the brewery.
They are. They really are. And if you have bread, the bread is important there too because they're making your bread.
Yeah.
All right,
All
everybody.
right.
Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us for another episode. Hopefully, we gave you some information that was entertaining and somewhat useful. I know this was a little different episode. We just wanted to drop some knowledge on this one, essentially. So, um, hopefully, you got something out of it and you got some information from us and you had a little bit of fun, especially us trying to pronounce some Norwegian words. Thanks, Marcus. Appreciate you. Um, but yeah, we'll hopefully be back next week with something new and look forward to hanging out with you again.
Yeah. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody.